Alrighty guys, welcome back to another LEGO set review from BrickByBrick. Today we have set number 70596, Samurai X Cave Chaos. Contains 1,253 pieces and retails for $119.99. And this set was released in 2016 as part of the summer/fall wave, the day they departed. Yeah, this set has kind of a lot going on here, so let's see how well we can cover everything. So before we take a closer look at any of the individual sections here, I just want to give kind of a overview of the layout of this cave. The entrance would be this section over here that has a skull, and you would lift this up. I guess just taking a quick look at the design of this here, it is kind of like that big skull from the desert. It's kind of conspicuous. I don't really understand how it hides anything, but you know, it looks pretty good. I like the there are some interesting building techniques here. It's built around one of these big Hero Factory blade pieces and uses these Speed Champions wheels for eyes, and then these Technic panels underneath. I think it's overall a very interesting build, and it looks pretty good on the whole. But you can see it's kind of not roofed over the top section here, but there is a small section of ground that continues along the top here, and a larger section of ground on the other side that Lloyd is demonstrating. Figures can stand up there, so you can pose some figures. There is a scorpion and a bush to make it look a little bit more interesting. But back to the entrance of the cave, and over here on the ground, you can see Nia's just kind of standing there, and there is space to park a bike, or you can leave it out of the cave and just leave that open. And you'd walk in, you'd see this section in the center, which is the main, center section of the cave. And this is the first big feature that we're going to show off, and that is that by turning these things in the back, these gold bricks with the texture on them, or round bricks with the texture, you'll push this all the way forward. You could also just pull it yourself manually, but by doing that, on the other side, it actually rotates this out at the same time, simultaneously, and that expands the size of the cave a little bit. What does bother me is this doesn't stop in exactly the same spot. They're about half a stud offset, which, you can just push it back into place, but it would have been nice if they locked in the same exact spot. And then, following Jay's path here, you'll end up in front of this mech area, where there is a little other, moving feature where you can just pull this up and it will extend this piece upwards, and it goes up to about here where you can get into the mech on the right level, actually, which I think is a pretty nice feature. The mech is just kind of standing there. You can remove it, and we're going to take a look at that separately in a minute, but that is the majority of the actual, floor moving functions of this thing. And the other thing you'll notice is that it's kind of built at a weird angle. The center section is what you start building with, the section with the floor that moves outwards. So your building orientation would be, laid out like this. But these other two side sections are just attached with these Technic pins, and they're attached at a 45-degree angle. So starting back over here, underneath this entrance is a ramp, which you can slide the bike out of, which is kind of cool. And underneath that ramp, you can actually lift this up. By the way, these pieces are brand new in sand blue, but right in here, there is a secret hidden blueprint, and this blueprint is actually going to be helpful with teaching you how to build something else later in the set. So we'll hold on to that. but you can close up the ramp, and right inside the doors is a little laser blockade. Looking straight in through there, looks like you're not going to be able to get by, but you can kind of walk around it rather easily. However, if your bad guys do walk around it and end up inside, you can simply put them back in here, which is a little bit difficult if you don't get him on the right center studs. He doesn't stand up perfectly straight, but you can turn this back then and lock him up in jail. So, you know, now he's caught Cryptor, and right above him is this little maintenance samurai droid. We'll take a look at him in a little while with the figures, but he does fit right in there, and both of these gray slopes are actually the same printed piece, so that's cool. These screens here, you can angle the top up and down, but they do have some interesting stickers on there. You got a file on Kozue and Pythor, and a file on the Phantom Ninja, who's technically only appears in a book. I don't know if the book is completely canon, but it's a cool little Easter egg. And it's got the Woo Crew sticky note on there. This center section is a big play feature, which we'll take a look at in a second. But, ooh, Master Wu fell over. But the ground, those 6x6 tiles do have some cool stickers. It's kind of important that you line those up right, otherwise it looks a little weird, but it's not too hard to do. And then there's a sticker here, which does, have some interesting stuff on there, as well as this side, which says assembly process engaged. We'll see what that's about in a minute. This side says alert Nindroid detected. That would be Cryptor. And then there's a map up here that says 120. Don't know if that date has any significance. Save Ninja. And milk. Get some milk. So that's cool. No milk included in the set, unfortunately. But over here on this side, right as you would be following this pathway here, the one that rotates out, right in front of that is a Samurai X suit, which makes sense because it's a Samurai X cave, even though at this point Nia is the water ninja. But, you can put the samurai armor on. I'll show you what that looks like again later. The interesting thing is that armor piece is exclusive in dark red, unprinted. It was obviously used in the samurai from series 13, I think. By the way, these stickers I really like. The ones that are on the tall panels, there are two identical ones over by the prison. So presumably there could be a laser field in front of that. Up here there's a Stone Army hat and some swords. Don't know what that's about. But that brings us finally back around to the little samurai mech storage area. Printed piece right here, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. And there are some little stickers here which show the Samurai X helmet and swords, which is the symbol that Nia uses in the Tournament of Elements wave. So that is all of the little details. I'll add to you. There's one more little hidden secret, and that is if you move this panel of the floor forward, the other one doesn't have anything, but this one right here, also these are movable. You can move them up and down, but under the floor over here, there is a little silver treasure chest bottom, which I believe has only appeared in Exonites. And I can't get that other one out, but there's a Sai in silver and gold, as well as two more stickered blueprints. And these are also going to be useful with their blueprints for vehicles in the set. You got the Mecha 2, or the X-Mecha 2, and the DM2, I don't know what that's supposed to mean, but those are the blueprint numbers, and I like the sticker on there. They're both pretty cool. So in order to look at the assembly feature, we have to look at the vehicles. This bike actually is not related at all, but we do have to remove this, and we also have to take the mech out here of its little area, and you can see that actually behind the mech there is this thing attached to the wall, just attached on some studs that are on the side. And this is also going to be important for our little look at the assembly feature. So here is the little bike. Obviously, you know, I told you it didn't have to do with the little feature, but, you know, figured we could take a look at it with the vehicles, because that would make sense. It's got some stickers on the front, including Mistake T, which is a reference to Mistake, the tea shop owner, in the TV series. The wheels both spin. It's kind of got a little bit of a forward rake to it. Uses two of these blade pieces, which I believe were only previously used with the Sensei Wu Sword of Souls from Miss Fortune's Keep, so relatively uncommon there. There's a little console and a little windscreen looking piece, so, you know, I think I'm satisfied with this thing. Obviously Ninjago does a lot of bikes, but this one is actually not super duper oversized, so I think that they did a pretty good job with it. The mech is pretty decent for the actual size of it, because it does fit inside of here. Obviously, it's nowhere near as good as the original Samurai Mech set, and doesn't look a whole lot like it, but you can put a figure in there, and then you just fold these down. These are on hinges, and they kind of cover it up a little bit, which I think is good. You got the legs that move all around, and yeah, I mean, good posability there. You got one sticker here and one sticker here. The arms can move to some extent, and they do have these blades on the back. You could switch those out and put those in the hands, but I mean, that's not what they tell you to do. And then this thing that hangs behind it has some good stickers on the engines, first of all, that say Blade, right, as you can read that, but when you turn them upside down, they read Blade, which is just a cool graphic design feature there. And they do have these propellers on the front, which you can spin around a little bit. Those are printed, and this looks alright. It also has some stud shooters, so, you know, you can add some stud shooters onto your vehicles. And this thing can actually attach right up here. You can attach it like that, or you can attach it the other way. Neither of those allow the stud shooters to be used really effectively, though, so that's a little weird, right? But we'll see this in the assembly feature as well. The other thing you can do is take this middle section of the jet and attach it on like that. And then that looks kind of cool, actually. I don't dislike the way that looks. The other way also works, just kind of gives it a really weird shape. So I don't know if I'd recommend that. So unfortunately you need to remove their shoulder armor pieces in order to fit them in here, but this is the little jet that is included with the set. And the front, I think, is a little bit awkward. And if you look at it from the bottom, it seems very peculiarly built, but that's for a very particular feature. The assembly feature, which we'll take a look at in a second, as I promised. But the actual wings of this thing have some good stickers on there. I actually screwed this one up a little bit, but, you know, don't kill me, please. And, you know, it's just kind of a jet. These fold open to allow you to figure in and then take them out. It looks okay, but here's the interesting thing. You can actually take it apart into 3 sections. And since you're really bad and don't know how to put it back together, you could A, follow the blueprint, or B, take that over to the assembly feature. So this is the assembly feature, and it's basically some Technic axles and a Technic mechanism. Also, there's a sticker down here with a button on it that you just, you know, push down when it comes time. But for the assembly feature to actually work, all you do is take your little individual sections of jet, you know. You got 4 potential options here. Obviously, you're going to need the engine, so when you put the engine on first, right? And then you got to pick between the 2. We've already seen it with that, so let's put this on here, and then we'll put the front, and we press the button, and it puts it together for us. So now we have this version of the jet, which is kind of hover powered, and that actually has stud shooters that would work, that would shoot forwards. So, I mean, it is what it is. It can't take things apart for you, only put them together, so you have to do the disassembly yourself. But it's still kind of fun to play around with, You can then take it apart and put this on there in a different configuration, because you can put everything on frontwards or backwards. So then you put that on and you push it, and it just feels kind of fun. I mean, it's not the most useful, because you can very easily do that yourself, but it's kind of a fun way to do it. The one other thing I'd like to show before we take a look at the figures is just a look at the back. And the one thing that I'm noticing here is it doesn't look super duper colorful and weird. It's nice and walled off completely. There are no real holes besides the one obvious one that's intentional for the mech, and that's where you would be able to attach this, whatever, center section you're not using on the jet. You can just attach it right in there, and that also fills up the space pretty well. The center section in the back is open. I mean, they did cover it up a bit using these pieces, which are actually new in this color, by the way. And I mean, these also don't stick out as far when you have the center section in the front extended. And the other side here also looks pretty well covered up, so I think it looks respectable from the back. Obviously doesn't make a good display piece from the back, but doesn't look awful either. Also, it is a little bit difficult to transport. If you do try and pick it up just by the two outer sections, it feels like the center's kind of sagging a little, and you can potentially have it where one of the sides will come off and then everything will go all So I would recommend trying to pick it up between all three sections. It is kind of difficult to do, so maybe the best solution is just to take it apart into three separate sections and transport it from there, which is a little bit inconvenient, but I think it might be the best way to go. And as promised, right before we look at the figures, we can take a quick look at this little Samurai X droid. And he's relatively simple. I like the dish used for the base, gives him a little bit more stability than just one stud would. And I actually really like the use of the steering wheel piece above. He's built around a 3-long bar, I believe. And he does have, arms that can move in and out, and his hands can rotate. So, pretty good posability there, too, for such a small little thing, using a very small amount of pieces. Probably be pretty helpful around the cave. So, speaking of figures, Lloyd and Nia here are probably the most exciting in the set, and that's because they're actually exclusive to this set, not counting the weird German magazines that we don't get over here in the US. So, for all intents and purposes, these are the only way to purchase these at retail over here. And they're the Day of the Departed outfits, which I happen to really like for most of the Ninja, because they kind of go way back to like ZX, and in these two cases, the original versions of the Ninja, that they actually, like Lloyd and Nia didn't have an original suit the first time around, so now they do, kind of, and I like that. I like their masks. They're both the same as, this one's the same as Lloyd's Hands of Time suit, and Nia's is the same as her Deep Stone suit. Their faces are traditional standard faces, but the prints for their torsos and legs are really the cool parts here. They both have this brown skybound armor, dark brown, and the print on their backs also shows the scabbards too, so even if you don't have the actual piece, it looks like they have them on, which I almost would have preferred if they weren't there, because then they would be super useful as like an original version. All you would have to do is get the correct color of mask, which doesn't exist for Nia. For Lloyd, I believe it existed in green in like the old like 90s Ninja sets, but they're pretty cool figures, and I happen to really like the way that both of them look. And it's really nice to get them in a set together. It is a little disappointing that they only appear in the most expensive set, but, if you're buying the most expensive set, you should get someone cool, so, I mean, it's a bonus, or a draw to this set, I just kind of wish they were in cheaper sets. This is a brand new version of Sensei Wu too, but Jay, this is the same as the Ultra Stealth Raider version of him, just without the mask, and he has, you know, his rebooted mask instead. Sensei Wu did also appear in the same exact form in the Dawn of Iron Doom set from the Hands of Time wave, but there goes his head. And Jay also has the back printing like Master Wu. I like the flute on that back there. And overall, I mean, these are both pretty well done figures. Like them quite a bit. Sensei Wu probably could have used a little bit of leg printing if I had to make one complaint about him, but you know, his face is perfectly appropriate, but very frequently used. Jay actually has two facial expressions, so he has smiling and concerned. But overall, I think that these are both, again, pretty good figures. Jay, not super desirable. I mean, I guess if you didn't get the Ultra Stealth Raider, but that is still a cheaper way to get him, so if you really want him, I'd recommend that one because he does also come with the mask, which, you know, looks a little bit better. Sensei Wu comes in a cheaper set as well, but still both good figures, and nice to get them here. The last four figures are all bad guys, and these two are General Kozue and just a plain old stone warrior. Kozue comes with his departed blade, which, you know, is basically one of the ninja's elemental blades, but in this yellow-green transparent color, and has the cool handle. So, you know, Stone Warrior just comes with some dynamite, because he's about to blow stuff up, I guess. The actual prints on these guys for the torso and legs are exactly the same, so I'm not even going to bother taking Kozu's second torso off. This is updated from his original, like, final battle version, so not exactly the same. I think it's worse, though, because it's less character-specific. The face print looks very similar, but I believe it's slightly updated. I'm going to do a comparison between the two at some point soon. Also, this piece, the helmet guard, is not the special printed one that Kozue got the first time around. This is, I believe, this was used on all the regular, just warrior versions with samurai helmets in the original sets. And they both have the same exact back printing, so that back printing is exactly what you see for the Stone Warrior, or Stone Swordsman. I don't remember what he's actually labeled as on the box. But in the original final battle sets, one that looked like this would be called the Swordsman. The only, well, the torso and leg prints are updated, but the face print is actually on dark red, or with a dark red color scheme, as opposed to a blue color scheme in the original sets. I think I like the blue better, because it just popped a little more, but, you know, neither of these figures are bad. I just think that their original versions from the 2013 sets were actually better. But Cryptor here and Pythor, these guys are pretty cool. Pythor's Departed Blade is really awesome because it's got a translucent yellow version of this samurai or serpentine staff piece. Again, same handle. And then Cryptor has a Techno Blade. It's actually on a chain, which is interesting, but looks cool still. And then both of these guys have some pretty good prints. I love the Pythor figure because this is actually the outfit that he wore in Rebooted, which never got made as an actual figure, so the actual prints on there are really good. He had just a cape because he was just the mysterious stranger at that point, but here he's got the serpentine tail, which I think is appropriate and looks really good. And the back of his torso print as well is really nice. Yeah, really got no complaints about this guy. The headpiece is printed exactly the same as the Tournament of Elements version, but yeah, this is a great figure. Cryptor, on the other hand, is good. I don't think he's nearly as good as Pythor. I think Pythor is probably my favorite villain in the set. The shoulder armor, I believe, is the same as the original rebooted version. And the torso print is the same as the Titanium Ninja Tumbler Ninjroids. as well as, I believe, the head, the same as the Ninja Tumbler versions, but, you know, he does get the Nindroid mask, which those two don't, so, I mean, he's cool. He's just, again, not as special as the original version, which I think is kind of a disappointing thing. So overall, I think the Samurai X Cave Chaos is a pretty good playset. I was expecting actually the figure selection to be one of the highlights of the set, and while getting Lloyd and Neo were really good, and I really love the Pythor figure, Kozue and Cryptor were kind of disappointing. Stone Warrior was as expected, but, you know, I think that the figures could have been done a little bit better. But the actual playset and the build of the whole thing, it's really fun to put together, first of all, and it has some great features. I really like the even though it's kind of useless, I really like the assembly feature here. I think that that's fun to use. It also kind of makes for a good, like it adds to display value, I think, having that place to store the jet. The rest of it is got some cool stuff. It's cool to have this, you know, feature where the walkway moves off to the side. I like that. The little prison cell is pretty good. I like the build of the skull. It doesn't look 100% perfect, but it is really fun to put together and has some interesting techniques. And overall, I'd say that you do get a pretty good value, because this is also a really big thing. I think this is the largest footprint of any Ninjago set I own, which I own most of the large ones. I think the only large Ninjago set that I don't own is the Fire Temple, but, you know, I mean, I wouldn't expect it to be too much bigger, and that's not counting the movie, by the way, but it is pretty big, and I think it is worth the $120 price point. I just don't think that it is the best set they've made, and I wish that some of the figures were a little bit more interesting and unique. But overall, I would recommend this set. I just don't know to what extent. It's still kind of difficult. If you're looking for a good playset, I think it's good. I think it works well on display, but some people might disagree with me. And the overall, you know, value of it kind of depends on if you like the TV show. I think you'll like the set. I think that this is a good set that we have wanted for a while, a Samurai X Cave. But you know, if you don't like the way it looks, I don't know if I'd recommend it, but it does have some cool play features. So overall, hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know if you did in the comment section down below, and I'll see you guys all next time. Bye, everyone.